So good morning, everybody. We are very happy to launch the online course today. First of all, we are very thankful to the government of Rwanda that have assisted all of the universities and schools in introducing the e-learning, because it was the only one single option available by this time. We appreciate also the efforts of the students that has been taken to allow us to start this program online, because there was also no other option except to wait when the pandemic will be out, and we do not know when it will be out. Thank you also to the students. So we need to say that we know the limitation of our students in terms of the e-learning infrastructure, about the internet connectivity, and also the other related infrastructure needed, like computer, like smartphones. But there is no other option except to do this way. But in case someone is having limitation, also he or she can join our learning portal and download the material and try to do the assignments. And we are really asking the people to use the forum, because it is where people can ask a question in case they got lost in this program. This is what I can say. This is Mr. David, who is going to provide this course, and also we are very thankful to him. And we need everybody to be interactive and ask questions anytime he or she wants. So, Mr. David, thank you very much. You can now conduct your class. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Good morning, students. So this is presentation 1 of mobile platforms. Okay. In this course, we will see how to make mobile applications. Mobile applications are in 2 groups, in 2 types. We have USSD applications. We have also Android applications. So we are starting from USSD applications. Okay, good. So we are starting from the first part of USSD applications. Now, before going into core concept of USSD applications, I need to introduce concept you need in order to make a USSD application. All of you, I'm sure that you have already used a USSD application. Whenever you want to use mobile money, you are using a USSD application. Tigo Cash or Airtel Money, you are using a USSD applications. They are USSD applications. When you take your phone and you start dialing *182, then hash, and then you call, so you will be accessing a USSD application stored on MTN servers on USSD gateway somewhere. So now those are USSD applications. They are very, very important applications which are being used in nowadays. Why? Because they are free. You don't need to have SMS fee. It is free. That is why it is being used, and it is like being used to access, to provide some extra services, USSD and structured supplementary service data. So there are some extra services you are getting from your phone which are not predefined. They are supplementary services. So you need some concept, some Java, because we shall be using Java. I know you have studied Java. Let us go through some important concept you need so that you can be able to make a USSD application. So you need control statements. You need to know control statements, especially if, else if, nested if, and else if. You need to know switch cases. You need to know loops of Java. You need to know if statement, if else statement, and nested if statements. So we shall be using these statements in order to create USSD application. So in USSD application, first of all, it is not easy to create, to set up the environment. That is why I recommend you to start setting up the environment. What shall we be using? So I know you have an IDE, a Java IDE. An IDE we shall be using. You can use any IDE, but NetBeans is more easier to configure and to use for USSD applications. We shall be using Tomcat as a web server, NetBeans IDE, Tomcat web server. After configuring the Tomcat, I know that you've seen how to make a simple web application in Java. So you used an IDE like Eclipse or NetBeans. Here we shall be using NetBeans. So if you know how to run a simple web application in Java, either a separate application or a GSP application or any other type of application in Java, you need, so already you are at a big step of making a USSD application. So install NetBeans, install Apache Tomcat, then we will be using a simulator. Because a USSD application runs on telephone, or smartphones. Now we need a simulator so that we can use USSD platforms but on a simulation. So phone simulator, we shall be using what simulator which is called Android simulator. So I gave you a link in the assignment guide. You have a link where you can download the Android simulator. So we need some libraries. It uses some libraries. I gave you also the link to download some libraries. The same link can be used to download a sample code. In this course, we need that sample code. It is like the same code which is adjusted, which is modified according to our needs. So we have that sample code. The big task is to set up the environment. The programming is easy. So it means you have to make sure you work hard in configuration. To make sure that you have your NetBeans installed, your Apache Tomcat installed, because it is a web server, it is a web application. USSD is a web application. So you need a name trace simulator. So it is simply to download it and to extract it somewhere. You can extract it in my document, wherever you want. So we shall access it in command prompt and start it. So installing the M-Choice simulator, Apache Tomcat, NetBeans, and then we need to include some libraries we need, and then we take the sample code, we modify the sample code, and make our USSD application. So that was a guide so that you can set up your environment, because after setting up the environment, it is easy to make a USSD application. Okay, so you need this simple concept so that you can make a USSD application. If statement. So in Java and in all other programming languages, you remember that we have control statements. Control statements, they are decision makers. They are decision makers statements. They decide what to do and not to do. For example, they decide which code to execute, which code to skip, and so on. So control statements are of many types. We have if statements. We have many if statements. We call if statements decision making statements, because if so it checks a condition, then it decide what to do, to execute the code or to skip it. That is why we call them decision-making statements. We have loops. Loops are also control statements because they help us to execute some tasks in a repetitive manner. If a task is to be executed many times, we need to use a loop. So you remember that. So it is easy to use these control statements. It is easy to use loops. But when you know control statements and loops, you are a good programmer. So let us start from if statements. Java if statement is used to test a condition. It checks a condition, then it executes a task only if the condition is true. It executes a task if the condition is true. If the condition is false, it does nothing. That is how if statement works. Okay? It checks the condition. If the condition becomes true, it performs a task. It executes if block, if else. If the condition is false, it does nothing. So that is if statement. So in the if statement, If statements are of four types: if statement, if else statement, nested if statement, and else if, nested if, and else if statement. So I was introducing the first one, if statement. So all of them, they are decision makers. But the first one execute a block of code only if the condition is true. If the condition is false, it does nothing. That is how it works. So the second one, if else. So the first one has only one task, and it will perform that task if and only if the condition is true. Otherwise, it does nothing because it is not having what to do if the condition is false. The second one is if else statement. You remember how they work. If else, we have if codes and else codes. So we have the condition in if that condition is true, sorry, if that condition is true, it will execute if codes, if block of code. Otherwise, it will execute as the block of codes. It means it is having two tasks, the if task and else task. If task is performed if the condition is true, and else task is executed if the condition is false. We have nested if statements. Nested if, it is an if inside another if. That is the meaning of nested. If we have an if inside another if, it means it is a nested if. A nested if, it is where we are having a condition in outer if, and we are having a condition in inner if. So the task is in inner if, and it will be executed if both conditions are true. Okay? An example, you can write a program to check if a number is positive and even. The outer if will check if the condition, if the number is positive, and the inner if will check if the number is even. So if the number is positive, if the condition is true, we go into the inner if to check if it is even. If it is even and positive, then we execute the corresponding task. Otherwise, we don't. If one of the conditions is false, nothing is done. Nested if and else if later. This one has many conditions to test, and it has many tasks, but only one task will be executed. The task whose condition will be true, it is that one which will be executed. That is how you check the first if condition. If, for example, if marks, for example, for a program to assign grades according to student marks, if max is greater than 80, is between 80 and 100, then grade is A. Else if max is greater than is between 79 and 80, grade is B. Else if max is between 69 and 70, grade is C. Else if max is between 59 and 50 and 60, for example, grade is D. Otherwise, grade is F. You see that we are having many conditions. In if we have a condition, in else if, the first else if has a condition, the second else if has a condition, the third else if has a condition. We test those conditions. And if we come to a condition which is true, we execute the corresponding task and we store. That is how it works. So only one task will be performed, a task for which the condition is true. Okay, so we start from the first condition. If it becomes true, we execute the corresponding task and we store. That is how if work. So we don't continue to check other conditions as long as we have come to a condition which became true. Condition became true, the first condition became true, we executed the task and we have stopped. If the first condition becomes false, we go to the next condition, we check it. If it becomes false, we go to a third condition. If it becomes false, we don't execute the task, we go to, because conditions which becomes false, we don't execute their task, we have to continue to other conditions. So if a statement is checks a condition and it executes the task, if false, if and only if the condition is true. Otherwise, it does nothing. An example in Java, which is a console application. For this introduction, we are having, for simplicity purpose, we are having we are using console application so that it is a refresh. We are only sorry what we have seen, because I know you have started Java. Now you see the if is checking if age is greater than 80. Then the condition is true because you have age which is 20 and it is performing an if block. A block, it is a set of codes between brackets. Those codes we are displaying age is greater than 80. This is how if works. So we have if s. I told you that if s has two tasks, but only one task will be executed. Which one will be executed? If the condition is true, it is an if block, an if task which will be executed. Otherwise, it is an else block. Okay, you remember that a block is a set of codes between braces. Now, we can call it a task or a block of codes. Now, only one block of code should be executed. Which one? If the first condition is true, we execute the first block, the if block. Otherwise, we execute the else. So it provides something to do if the condition is true, and another one to be done if the condition is false. Okay, that is how it works. So you can open your NetBeans and test it. Here we are having a program to check, to evaluate student marks and assign a corresponding grade. Now it is if else if. So a student is having 65 marks, 65. Now, and you will start from the first condition. Is 65 less than 50? No, 65 is not less than 50. It means we don't execute the first task. We don't display failed. We go to the second condition. Is max less than 50? Is max greater than 50? Yes, it is greater than 50. But and we have and condition and operator there. Is also max less than 60? So it means does is 65 between 50 and 60? No. No. So 65 is not between 50 and 60. It means we will not execute the second task because the condition is true. It is false. We have the first true and false. True and false. You remember that how and get work. And we have input we have output. Input A, B, output is C. Now, 0, 0 means false, false, we have false. 0, 1, false, true, we have false. 1, 0, it means true, false, we have false. 1, 1, we have 1. So it is what we are having there. Max 65 is greater than 50. Yes, it is here. We are here. We are here. 65 is greater than 50. Yes, it's true. But it is not less than, it is not less than, it is not less than 60. So we will get false because it is true and false which gives false. That is how AND gate work. It is the same as AND operator. So we go to the next condition. Is the max between 60 and 70? Yes, because it is 65, it is between 60 and 70. So we shall display C grade and we stop, because as long as we get through, we have to execute the corresponding task and you have to stop. That is how if works. So we check the first condition. If it fails, we go to the next condition. If it fails, we go to the third condition. If it succeeds, we don't need to check other remaining condition. No, we execute the corresponding task and we stop. That is how it works. So switch case. Switch case works exactly like nested if else if. They work exactly the same way. The logic is the same. The difference is the syntax. The switch statement executes one statement from multiple conditions. It is like if else if. So we have many tasks, many statements, and we have many conditions to test. So, but only one task will be performed. We shall check the first condition. If it fails, we go to the next, to the second condition. If it succeeds, we execute the corresponding task and we stop. That is how it works. So you know how these things work. It is so we have loops. In Java, we have the important loops. We have for loop, while loop, and do while. As I said at the beginning, a loop, it is a statement which helps us to perform a task in repetitive manner. So if we have a task that is to be performed repetitively many times, automatically we have to think about it. Is someone having a question? Okay, you can use the forum. If you have a question, you can use the forum and type your question. I will go through all questions and try to respond. Okay? If you don't have an installed software, it means installed. If it's installed, no problem. You can install it. Now, let us continue. Here, whenever we have a task which is to be performed repetitively, for example, I want to write a program which displays my name 100 times. So it is very taxing for a human being to write that 100 times. Okay? So it is even tiresome to write system.out.print 100 times. Okay? Because you can do it by writing 100 system.out.print. Okay? But we have a loop which simplifies such a kind of task. If we have a task which is to be performed in a repetitive manner, so we have to use a loop. So you see this loop is displaying numbers from 1 to 10. So we are using for loop. We cannot delay on this because you already know. We have for each. For each is used to traverse an array. For each loop is used to traverse an array. So it means we are having many elements. You remember that an array, which is a collection of elements of the same type, okay, which are having the same name, but they are different from their indexes, their positions in the array. So when you want to traverse, to move through the array, picking one element one by one, you can use for each. For each is used to facilitate that kind of task. We have an array which is having many elements. Now we need to pick some elements, or we need to pick all elements and use them in some other activities. And in that case, we need a for each statement. The for each will go through the array and pick elements, and you can use those elements in some other activities. Java while it is another kind of loop, you can see how it is used. It is used to iterate. To iterate is to do a part of the program several times. It is used also to perform a task many times. So it is a while. So there is a difference between a while and do while. You have to remember. A while tests the condition before. Okay, it tests the condition before executing a task, but a do while tests the condition, it executes a task and tests a condition after. So that is the only difference between a while and do while. Do while it first of all executes a task and checks the condition after. So do while bavuga ko yisama yasandaye. So if the starting condition is false, it has already performed a task. So that is why bavuga yisama yasandaye. That is the way. But while it check the condition before and execute the task after. So you can see, but all are kinds of loops which perform any task in a repetitive manner. Yes, we have do while. So many students forget the semicolon on a while of do while. So, and this semicolon is very important because it indicates the end of do while. So if you don't put it, your program will not be executed. So while and do while, they are loops, but the difference is that the while checks the condition before, the do while checks the condition after. That is why for do while, even if the starting condition is false, the beginning condition, the condition one is because it checks the condition many times. That is how loops work. They check conditions many times and execute task corresponding tasks many times. As long as condition is still true, they execute tasks. So for do while, if the starting condition is false, it has already performed the task. That is why we say it executes a task at least once, even if the condition is false. So it is. So after that, then it has to the